Happy New Year, everybody. It's your old friend Alex from Feelgood Guitars here in Austin, Texas. It's 2025 somehow, and it doesn't really make much sense. It seems like last year just completely flew by. I'm still kind of processing 2022 in a lot of ways. So it's a new year, and I wanted to come on today and make a video that I've been kind of procrastinating for some time now. I kind of wanted to just make a little video just giving a general introduction to me and Feelgood Guitars or Copacetic Customs. Just kind of a chance for us to get to know each other a little bit. And I also a few months back got did a little ask me a question thing on Instagram, so that people could ask whatever question they wanted to know about my business and me and our products and whatnot. So I figured the best way to do this would be to just come on here and answer some questions that you guys had, and hopefully by the end of it you guys feel like you know me a little bit more and kind of get a little bit more of an idea of what we're all about. So I guess a good place to start with the video is just a little brief introduction to me and us. I'm Alex. I run Feelgood Guitars and Copacetic Customs. The same company really, but Feelgood Guitars is the guitar brand. It says Feelgood on our headstocks and everything. And then Copacetic Customs is kind of it was the first company that I started, and the focus was more just on refinishing and paint work at the time. So so many people know me by the name Copacetic and Copacetic Customs, on forums and whatnot. So once I kind of created the Feelgood brand, it didn't feel right to just completely change over and abandon Copacetic Customs. So I kind of do the awkward thing of having both names, and it is what it is. So, but yeah, that's, if anyone's ever been confused by Copacetic Customs, Feelgood Guitars, which one is it? It's both, they're both me. It's just Feelgood is more when I'm building guitars. Copacetic is more when I'm modifying or painting guitars and such. So sorry for the confusion, but it just is what it is. So yeah, we are based in Austin, Texas. We offer complete, fully custom builds, as well as custom finish work, refinishing, tech work, mods, anything really you could think of. We also offer our Texas Classics line, which is kind of a more affordable line of builds where we'll use pre-made necks and some more kind of budget-friendly parts and pickups and whatnot to kind of give you the most bang for the least buck. So because I started off playing made in Mexico Fenders and Squires and a lot of that type of stuff. So I have a soft spot in my heart for the folks who can't afford a $2,000 or $3,000 instrument. That's not going to be everybody, and In fact, some of the greatest artists, played very cheap guitars. So it's not lost on me that something not necessarily expensive can play and feel and sound really incredibly high quality. And that's kind of part of the whole ethos of what I do. I started off in this business. It was a kind of a COVID business. Before COVID, I was working at a music store in my hometown. That's kind of where I cut my teeth, doing tech work, refinished my first couple of guitars while I worked there. I started off not being a tech at all, but kind of through being diligent and improving myself, with working on guitars that I was selling to customers or just working on guitars in my downtime. I eventually kind of rose up to where I was one of 2 techs at the store and started taking on work for customers, and that allowed me to, that was some of the greatest learning experience I could have gotten, because every day there was something new coming through the door. By the time I had been there for a few years, I was very proficient in, I guess you could say, in tech work, and had really caught the bug and would go home and just nerd out and research things, watch YouTube videos, read forums, just like every night, so it really became an obsession, and every day at work it was like I was in hog heaven, because I was just surrounded by guitars and was working on guitars, and I was the guy that local bands in the town would bring their guitars to me, and a few of them would only bring them to me. They wouldn't let the other guy at the store work on them. So, I began for the first time in my life, before working in the music industry, I was waiting tables. So it was like, for the first time in my life, I was proud of what I was doing every day. And so then COVID happens. And because I was the lowest man on the totem pole, I guess I was furloughed and wasn't sure if my job was going to come back. And then sure enough, it didn't, after it turned out that things really were shutting down. And so, I kind of took the opportunity. My lease had just ended, and my buddy, my best friend, had, his lease was ending too. And he was like, hey man, you've always wanted to move to Austin. What better opportunity than right now, So, for the first time in my life, I, had something that I really, really enjoyed doing and was getting paid to do. And then all of a sudden it was kind of stripped away from me, and I didn't have guitars to work on every day and things to nerd out over. But what I did have is a ton of time, and didn't have to, thanks to unemployment and the stimulus checks and whatnot, I found myself actually with kind of a surplus of money, and didn't, for the first time in my adult life, I didn't have to worry about, how am I gonna, pay for my bills, and, I had that all covered for the time being. So, I was looking for a new job in the industry, but I was like, this is kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity for me to just fully throw myself into guitar work. And I had no idea, I honestly was just kind of hoping it could maybe be like a good little side hustle thing to kind of get me by until I found a new job. But I remember I started off with I bought a Squire Jaguar and painted it, modified it, did a few Mustangs, and just every time I would buy these little Squires, I would modify them, put new hardware and spray a new nitro finish. And eventually, it got to where I was really good at paintwork, or pretty good for starting out, and word kind of got around, and eventually I started taking on custom orders. So, that's kind of the genesis of it. That was back in 2020, and fast forward now, it is 2025, and yeah, we're doing full custom builds and everything under the sun. So yeah, that's a little bit about us and about me, about how we got our start, what kind of led to the formation of the brand. So, one thing that that I often see as like a barrier for why people wouldn't necessarily order a guitar from a shop like mine is there's often the concern of they're cool, they look great, but I would never buy a guitar sight unseen, or buy something that you couldn't play first. And believe me, that is something that I can sympathize with. I mean, I get it. However, the way that I combat that is by being an extreme, over-the-top nerd about the specs and the measurements and every little detail about the guitar. I don't just give you kind of a one size fits all kind of approach. With every guitar, every project that I'm quoting out for a custom build, I'll ask some questions about your playing style, about your preferences, and most importantly, I'll ask you, what is the best playing guitar that you've ever played? What is your favorite feeling neck? Your favorite pickups? These are things that are very important to me. Some people, of course, you may come to me already having, your ideal specs in mind. In fact, a lot of my customers do. But if you don't know, and if you think, it's just such a what if, I don't know if, will it be what I like? We can build whatever you like. If you like a really fat, chunky baseball bat neck, we can do that. You like a really flat fingerboard radius, we can do that. You like a really round, vintage 7 1/4 radius, we can do that. The best way that we can guarantee you'll like what as close as we can get to guaranteeing that you'll like what you get, is by cloning the specs of your favorite guitar neck. So you tell me, hey, my favorite guitar of all time is a AVRI Jaguar. Okay, well, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna look at what is the nut width, what is the measurement at the 1st fret and the 12th, what is the shape, the back shape of the neck. Is it a C, is it a D, is it a U, is it an oval C? There's tons of different ways that you can subtly change the shape of a neck that does matter to your hand. I don't just, slap the same profile on every build. I'm going to make sure that it is exactly how you want it to feel. And that goes for every single part. Whatever pickups are your favorite pickups in the world, if you have a favorite set, we can use those exact pickups. The hardware, your favorite type of bridge, no matter what it is. It may not be a company that I have a relationship with. I'll use whatever parts you like, and that's the best way that I can guarantee you, or get close to guaranteeing that you will love what we make for you, because it matters to me, and I do care that you get something that you're happy with. Another thing that I've seen online, specifically in regards to my shop, my company, is that they say, his work looks great, but it seems a little pricey for what is essentially a parts caster. And I'm gonna have to take a little bit of umbrage with calling my work parts casters, although I can concede that I do see how they would get that impression. For a little background, I did indeed start off basically building parts casters when I started building guitars. We're talking 2020, 2021, 2022. I hadn't yet designed any of my own body shapes. I hadn't yet partnered up with Musicraft for custom necks. I hadn't yet met my business partner Boris, who helped me, flesh out my first guitar designs. I hadn't yet kind of fully evolved Feelgood Guitars into its own brand. We were kind of essentially just making, Fender designs, Jazzmaster type guitars, Jaguar type guitars, Mustang type guitars, those were kind of, you know, our specialty, and still are to a large degree. You know, I still have a lot of love for those original types of designs. You know, we like to do our own spin on them nowadays, but still absolutely love a Jaguar style guitar, a Jazzmaster, any offset type guitar that has been made by or designed by Fender. You know, I still will make my own versions of those. But yeah, you know, essentially back then I was buying a body from such and such, and then a Fender neck or what have you, or an all parts neck, and was kind of marrying together a neck and body that weren't made for each other. And to me, that's what a parts caster is. You know, it's parts that, while they fit, they're not necessarily made for each other. And you're kind of putting together a guitar out of parts. I always tried to, of course, make my parts casters as professional as possible, and, you know, with professional looking, you know, relic work and nitro finishes, and, you know, my own custom headstock decals, and nice pickups, nice hardware. You know, I always tried to, you know, that was very much where I learned how to make professional level guitars. But yeah, then eventually, you know, we eventually got a cease and desist, and you know, that kind of was the catalyst for me pulling out the sketch pad and designing some original shapes, and, you know, things that would start to carve out an identity of my own. You know, it was kind of the, you know, that was kind of the moment of going, okay, like, you've kind of gone as far as you can go with just making parts casters and kind of copying other popular brands' guitar designs, you know. So why don't we, you know, take what we've learned and apply that to designing some new, fresh, interesting guitars? And that's exactly what I did. So fast forward to now, what we build now is absolutely not a parts caster. We have, when an order comes through, we hash out all your neck specs, you know, what headstock shape you want, and I do have all unique headstock shapes. Now, they are, of course, inspired by Fender headstock shapes, but as you can see, you know, it's the little cutouts here, a sharp point here. You know, they are different from Fender headstock shapes, and I think kind of cooler, but that's, you know, of course, my biased opinion. We get your exact neck specs, send that off to our neck partners at Musicraft. They make the neck to those exact specs, and then I send the specs for the body to my business partner Boris, who, you know, does the CNC sketches and CAD drawings, what have you, and makes the templates and everything necessary to make the body to your exact specs. You know, whatever pickups you want, whatever scale length you want. If you want to build it as a baritone, if you want us to build you a bass 6, you want us to build you a 12-string version of any of our guitars, we can do it. And that is because everything is, you know, custom made, you know, it's bespoke and, you know, intended for the build that you have commissioned. So in the nicest way possible, these are not parts casters, but we can still build you a parts caster. You know, our Texas Classics line, you know, we do offer a lot of our own body shapes with those, so but we do pre-made necks. So, you know, a pre-made neck is not made for the body that we built, obviously, but, you know, we do all the same work, you know, that we would do to a regular custom-made neck. You know, we'll roll the edges, spray a nitro finish, reshape the headstock if it's got a trademark protected headstock, you know, put our decals on it, you know. So even when we do make a parts caster, we still are giving it the exact same attention to detail as a full custom build. So And of course our partscasters with pre-made necks and whatnot are cheaper, so check out our Texas Classics line. So I guess what I'll do next is kind of go through like the whole order process and what it can look like, because I know it's a little bit different. So essentially, you go to my website, you can view the regular custom builds page or the Texas Classics builds page if you're after something a little bit more budget friendly, with a pre-made neck and whatnot. Or you can visit the paintwork and finishing page, which has all the prices for finish work, refinishing, stripping, reassembly. It's all covered on the price lists on there. For the most part, there's a few things, a few kind of special requests you may incur a little bit of an extra upcharge. So yeah, basically, you reach out, put in an order form request for your custom build or refinishing project, and I'll email back and forth with you. And I take my time with emails. I spend a few hours a day, every single day, answering emails and corresponding with people about builds. And I always try my best to really rack my brain and think of any little details that I can foresee, any little cool, unique, interesting ideas I can think of that you might like. I mean, one guy just today asked me about a kill switch, and I looked at the position on the guitar he was talking about, and I was like, oh, it would be really cool there, an arcade style, like push button kill switch. And he loved that idea. He was like, I had never even thought about it. I didn't even know that existed. And so now he's gonna get a push button arcade kill switch on his guitar. So just little things like that, I try to go the extra mile as much as I can to really create something unique and inspiring, because that's what a guitar is supposed to do. You're supposed to be inspired to play and to make art and to have fun. So yeah, we correspond back and forth about the various details, your neck specs, and believe me, I will get very nerdy. I will send you measurements and lots of numbers and probably use terminology that's far too nerdy for the average person. But I try my best to make it understandable and to meet you where you're at on your level of understanding and to fill in any blanks that I can. So yeah, once we get all the details hashed out, I'll give you kind of a quote for the price and the expected turnaround time, and if that's agreeable to everyone, then we move forward. I send an invoice via PayPal for the deposit, and that covers my parts and materials. Typically, it's around a 66% deposit up front. That's solely because I don't charge as much as most other custom builders. So that allows you to, not have to pay everything up front all at once, and you don't pay the full total amount until you've seen the final photos. And I try to send tons of photos, at the end and every angle. And only once you approve it and say everything looks great will we handle the final payment and shipping and send it off and all that. So, I do my best to give my customers peace of mind while I'm working. Yes, I have to have a certain amount to cover materials and parts and whatnot, but you're not going to pay the full amount until you're happy with what you're getting. So, and that's good for me and for you. Keeps me from having to get a bunch of stuff sent back to me and fixed because I didn't send very good pictures or something. It's I've learned to just always be overly cautious and send way too many pictures, even if it might be mildly annoying or what have you. I try to make sure that you're happy with what you're getting before you even get it. So that's kind of the general process of ordering a custom guitar. It takes usually around 3 to 4 months, sometimes 5 to 6, if we're talking a more complex build or something with a sparkle finish. If something does take longer, it's because there's more work involved, and work takes time. So we have a pretty good division of labor, and we're able to finish things a lot faster than a lot of much larger teams. Yes, there is a considerable weight involved in what we do, but that's because good things take time, So that's kind of the lowdown on turnaround times. We work our asses off, quite frankly, and I'm always doing everything I can to finish every project as quickly as possible, but we do ask, that you bear with us a little bit, because we are a small team with a ton of work. All right, so I think that about does it for all of the general background information. But now I guess we can pivot over to answering some of the questions that I got on Instagram. So the first one here says, are body shapes not on the website available, like something custom ordered, or like a custom designed shape? Absolutely, yes. If you can make up a sketch of what you want, or describe it, or what have you, any way you can communicate that idea, as long as it's something that will work and that makes sense and is possible to be built, we will absolutely make it. Any custom shapes that you can think of. Having said that, I will absolutely give you my opinion as a builder on how things can be improved or streamlined, or things that may not be in the proper place. That's kind of where I come in. I can kind of take your idea and flesh it out into something that would actually, make sense and would fit together. I'll make sure the bridge is in the proper location, that the controls are laid out in a way that, won't interfere with picking or things that you might not necessarily think of when you're just kind of drawing or designing a guitar. I'll do my best to think through every single aspect of it to make sure that we can produce your design in as refined of a state as possible. So yes, absolutely, we can make off-menu shapes and designs, but I'm going to make sure it's something that I feel comfortable putting my name on. So yeah. This one says, what color options are there? Honestly, there are too many options for me to ever list them. I do have a colors page on the website, just feelgoodguitars.com/colors. And that shows kind of our most popular shades and colors that are requested. All the standard, like, Lake Placid blue, Sherwood green, Fiesta red, Shoreline gold, stuff like that. That's all on there, and we have several versions of all of those colors. But because I use automotive paint codes as well as various other custom paint brands, and even mix up our own colors and everything either from scratch or from swatches or what have you, there's simply just, literally unlimited. There are like millions of options for colors. Any color you could possibly think of or dream up, there is almost certainly a way to do it and to spray it on your guitar. Now, certain things may be more expensive, sparkle finishes and whatnot, but just about anything that you can dream up, as long as I can conceive a way to make it happen, it is possible. So really, don't limit yourself to any color options. Anything you've ever seen sprayed on a guitar or a car, chances are we can replicate it and do, and I will put an extreme amount of effort into making sure that the color is exactly what you want, because I don't want you to be unhappy with it. I don't want you to send it back to me to refinish or something. You know, I want to make sure I nail the color in your head as much as possible. So usually I'll ask, even when someone orders like a Lake Placid blue or a Sherwood green, something, even though I know I have kind of my favorite versions of those colors, I have a bunch of, there's been a bunch of different versions of Sherwood green and Lake Placid blue and Fiesta red over the years. And then to further confuse things, vintage examples will yellow and age differently depending on the life they live. So even two Fiesta reds that were, or Sherwood greens or Lake Placid blues that were built side by side, you know, they go off and live their own lives and age one way, and this one ages another, and they may look like completely different shades. You know, some Lake Placid blue ends up looking basically green. Some of them can even look like brown, or, you know, like the what do they call it, like Irish pub blue or something like that. Like that was like basically like an olive green, but apparently there's Lake Placid blue under there. You know, all of, you know, I know that within these color names there can be a wide spread of looks within that color. So I always ask for reference photos so that I can see your ideal version of each color and make sure that I use paint that will make you happy. So yeah, that's as far as colors, you know, basically all of them. Every color, they're all options. So this one says, any dream builds you haven't done yet? I mean, honestly, there's as far as dream builds go, I mean, there's a lot of I'm really excited about a lot of our new body shapes. The Wrangler and the Astro Creep are two most recent that I've designed, and those are guitars I just haven't been able to stop thinking about ever since I saw the first mock-ups. And so yeah, I mean, I'm dreaming about building my own Wrangler for myself. That's kind of like my dream build right now. But that's the thing about a dream build. I build dream builds kind of every day. They're every guitar I build is kind of a dream build in a lot of ways. So it's, you know, there's not a whole lot that I want to build that I haven't yet, you know. So but there's a few things, you know. I maybe shouldn't spill the beans about this quite yet, but we're working on a 12-string model with a vibrato, with an offset vibrato. A very cool hardware company is making the bridge and vibrato for us. Basically, 12-string with vibrato is kind of another thing that I've really been kind of dreaming about for a while, and that's something that we will hopefully be making happen, possibly this year even. So this one says, I'd love to hear more on the pickups you use. So that's a great question, actually. We use basically whatever pickups you want. I don't have allegiance to any one pickup winder or pickup company. I kind of see the merit in all of them, you know, whether it's Curtis Novak or Lawler or Guitar Fetish or just regular like Fender Alnico pickups, or even in some cases Squier, or, you know, some imported kind of cheaper pickups. I've been blown away by $20 sets of pickups before. So you know, I don't put too much stock in any one brand name, and in fact, you know, boutique pickups to me, while some of them really earn their high selling price, there's a lot of them that I've honestly been kind of underwhelmed by and been like, you know, those really don't sound very much different from standard, just regular Alnico pickups. So you know, I've gone a long way to identify a lot of more affordable pickup brands, such as GFS from Guitar Fetish, or There's Eric Custom, which are hand-wound pickups made in China. There is Tone Hatch, which is a really good, I mean, honestly, Tone Hatch might be my favorite. Tone Hatch and Q Pickups in Croatia are probably my two favorite pickup companies if I had to choose, because they offer fantastic hand-wound pickups at a damn good price. I mean, not that much more, and in fact, sometimes cheaper than a lot of your standard Fender or, you know, Seymour Duncan or what have you pickups. So, you know, I'm all about bang for buck. I'm all about the best possible tone without, you know, paying an arm and a leg for something that may or may not be actually what you need. So yeah, I mean, all that to say, while I tend to prefer more affordable pickups that are still obviously high quality, we'll use whatever you want. Any specific brand or style of pickups, we can absolutely use it. We'll even like we're using like a Mojo, one of the big Mojo dual foil gold foils in one of our builds. So you know, we had to get a custom template for that, and you know, it's like we don't shy away from, oh, we don't have the template for that, or oh, we've never done that before. It's like, great, we've never done that before. Let's add that to the collection. Let's add that to the repertoire. So so yeah, that's kind of my philosophy on pickups. You know, bang for buck, but also high quality is an absolute must. So okay, so this is a really good one. So this one says, on the website, does the starts at price refer to just the cost before you specify the specs? The starts at price on the website for all the models, that is basically the cheapest I can possibly conceive making a guitar with that body shape and that style of neck. If it's a full custom build, it'll be custom made neck and body to your specs. If it's a Texas Classic, it'll be a pre-made neck and a custom made body to your specs. So the starts at price will usually reflect an instrument that's somewhat stripped down, you know, simpler neck specs, you know, no blocks and binding or something, you know, more affordable or fewer pickups, you know, maybe a hardtail bridge instead of like a vibrato and bridge situation. You know, there's lots of ways that within a certain design or body shape you can kind of make a stripped down, more affordable build. So I try to reflect that in the price. You know, I don't want people thinking, well, I just want a simple, you know, single humbucker, one volume knob guitar, but I'm gonna, you know, you're not gonna have to pay the same price as someone who wants two pickups and a rhythm circuit and all the chrome plates and a vibrato and all that. So I know it's a little bit confusing and it's not perfect, and I am working on a better system for custom orders, and you know, something that's a little, you know, gives you a little better of an idea before requesting a quote. But for the time being, this is kind of the best way that I've found to make it work. And for the most part, you know, even if you do want kind of the standard version of something with all the, you know, bells and whistles it normally comes with, it won't be too far off from the starts at price. So yeah. So this one says, can you source a 24 and a 24.75 scale length neck? Yes, we can. Our partners at Musicraft can build basically any neck you can possibly dream up. If we do a 24.75 Gibson scale length neck, it'll be made like a conversion neck. So it can go on a standard 25.5 or 24-inch scale body, depending on the starting point. So yeah, if we do build you a guitar, say with a 2475 neck that we made, and just something catastrophic happens, you break the neck somehow, you don't have to get some crazy custom-made weirdo 2475 neck made. You can just replace it with another conversion neck or a standard 25.5 scale neck, or 24-inch scale, depending on where your bridge is and what type of body it is. So, we do all of our neck pockets Fender spec. So yeah. This one says, what are your biggest influences in guitar building and painting? Which is a great question. I have been waiting for an opportunity to gush about my influences for a long time. I would have to say, obviously, Leo Fender. Anybody in the entire world that builds guitars owes a lot to Leo Fender. I mean, he's like the godfather he's the Henry Ford of the guitar world. Obviously, I owe so much to Leo, and would be remiss if I didn't give him his props. But beyond him, Roger Rossmeisel is a huge influence. His Coronado headstock shape obviously is a big inspiration for us. But he also, his work with Rickenbacker and the German carve, and his work with Fender, making the Coronado, the thin line Telecaster, even the acoustics line, people kind of shit on these, but I love my new Porter. I mean, this is a 1968, I think, and this is a Roger Rossmeisel design. It's bolt-on neck, just like their electrics, and the neck feels basically just like a vintage electric guitar neck, which is why I love it, because vintage Fender necks are like my holy grail in the guitar world. And so an acoustic that has that same playability and that same feel is like perfect for me. So I love those guitars, even though people kind of shit on them. But yeah, then there's also Gene Fields. He designed the Marauder and the Starcaster, the pointy headstock shape that both of those guitars share. Virgilio Babe Simoni is another really big influence for me. What I kind of take from Babe is the mindset of fusing two things together and kind of making these weird hybrids and stuff. He was the guy tasked with figuring out what to do with all the leftover bass 5 bodies, and came up with the Swinger. And he designed the Maverick, which was also made to use up extra electric 12-string bodies. So he took these kind of assignments from the higher ups, to, hey, take these bodies and make a guitar out of a new guitar model out of them, because these models are discontinued or not selling. And he could have just took an electric 12-string body and just put a 6-string neck on it and kept the same body shape, but no, he kind of chopped it up and made something unique, with the Maverick, with the weird little cutout on the bottom. It's things like that I really admire, like people that take risks and make kind of gutsy design choices and do things that dare to be different. I think those designs are just way ahead of their time, and now in 2025 we can all see the brilliance of those designs. It's not that they're anything like earth-shatteringly different like the Strat was, but I think music has evolved and branched off into so many different genres and subgenres since the 50s that everybody really does kind of have their own unique style and their own unique aesthetic, and it's not going to be just a one-size-fits-all for everybody. Not everyone will be happy with just a Strat, Tele, Mustang, or Jazzmaster. Some people are going to want the Swingers and the Mavericks and the you know, the Space Cadets and the Playboys and, you know, all these weird kind of unique designs that we specialize in. You know, that's who we make them for, the weirdos, the eccentric artists who want something as unique as they are. And yeah, owe a lot of that to people like Babe Simone. So yeah, and then beyond vintage and, you know, people that I don't know and have never met, I'm very influenced by the great friends that I've made in the industry. You know, Dan Katz at Guitar Forum and Tough Set, you know, he's been a huge help to me in kind of figuring out the, you know, the very messy process of starting a business the way I have. And, you know, he's given me so much advice and help, and then just been a great friend and a great person to bounce ideas off of and everything. So, you know, then there's also Pat Cross from Cross Guitars. We've a many-time collaborator of mine and a great friend that I met through the Offset Guitars forums. Really inspired by a lot of, you know, he kind of, in many ways, does the exact kind of same stuff we do. And there's been a lot of times, there's been a few times when we've both kind of had independently of each other like the same kind of idea, and I'll post something thinking, oh yeah, this is something like original that I've made, and then he'll comment or like say, oh hey, I made something like that, and then he'll post a picture and it looks just so sick, and it's like, damn, he beat me to it, you know. It's crazy how parallel our minds kind of work, and I just really greatly admire his work, and I feel like we're kind of kindred spirits in what we enjoy and what we like. So Boris, my business partner, is a huge inspiration to me. He's made a lot of really cool designs and is just a great, just awesome person who inspires me to be a better person. Jeff Parento from Lomic Guitars, another longtime friend and collaborator. Doug Canifax from Fax Guitars. He and I worked on a guitar that has played on the CMT Awards stage with Lainey Wilson. You know, just a lot of really cool cats in this industry that I've been fortunate enough to kind of befriend and cross paths with, and I like to think we've all kind of helped each other and kind of made each other better. So yeah, very grateful for that. This one says, could I ever get just a custom neck and or body instead of an entire custom build? Yeah, absolutely. We do make custom necks and bodies on request. It has to be, I don't do unfinished necks or bodies. It will have to have a finish on it so that I can send it out and kind of warranty it and kind of control what our name is being put on, if that makes sense. But yeah, we will, you know, if you're kind of more into doing builds yourself, we can sell you a neck or body to your specs and with whatever finish you like on it. So this is an interesting one. This person says, what's the cheapest option or way to get a guitar refinished? So there's a couple of ways. I mean, there is a certain amount of it that's just, the work takes time, and time is going to cost money, obviously. But there are ways to save yourself some money that I don't think a lot of people fully realize. One thing is on a refin or a refinish, where I'm repainting a guitar. People often, you know, they'll want nitro, and a lot of times they have a poly finished guitar, and they'll want me to completely strip the poly and then spray nitro. Now, there is I guess a reason or a benefit to that I can see. You know, if you have the poly underneath, it can lead to a thicker finish, and also if the poly finish is like red or something and you spray black over it, well, if you chip it, if you chip the black nitro, then it's going to show red poly underneath. So if the color underneath is going to clash, then yeah, maybe I would recommend stripping. Or if you're worried about the thickness of the finish, a lot of poly finishes are pretty thick, but not all of them. You know, you can definitely find some that are pretty darn thin, and it's not necessary from an adhesion standpoint to strip any paint. You can totally just sand it down to like 220 grit and spray on top of it. And in that case, you save a lot of prep work, you know, grain filling, sealing, primer, all of that. And you basically just use the existing finish as a perfectly flat primer coat. So you can just spray your paint on top and it'll speed things up. So skipping stripping is the biggest way to save money, because stripping poly or stripping nitro, even just stripping paint in general, is a ton of work. I don't think anybody likes doing it, so I don't feel bad saying that I don't like doing it. And you know, it's not necessary. It may be necessary for you if you deem that, hey, it's important to me to have just a nitro on wood type finish. You know, absolutely, I can see the charm in that, and I will absolutely do it for you. But for those looking to save money, skip stripping, for one, and for two, another thing you can do is ask me if I have any leftover paint. I do, because of the nature of what I do. I have tons and tons of paint that is no future use in sight. You know, whether it's leftover paint from a project where I didn't use all the paint that I had to order, or if it's a paint color that I just bought, or, you know, ordered for something that didn't, you know, a project that ended up falling through or something. At any given time, there's a ton of unused colors that I'll have. If you ever are looking for a way to save a little money, you know, I can knock $30, sometimes $40 off the price of a finish by just using some paint that I already have laying around in the garage. So, so that's another way to get the price down. So yeah, that's the end of the questions that we got. I'm sure, like I said, that there's something that I have missed or neglected to answer here. I tried my best to rack my brain, but, you know, something may have slipped through. And if I did forget anything, or if I did not answer something that you were hoping to have answered, please comment down below, and I will answer publicly for everyone to see, so that hopefully it can be like a little addendum to the video. And the goal is for this to be kind of like a one-stop little intro to get familiar with our brand, because, you know, understandably, we're a small brand, a small team, you know, and there's not a ton of stuff about us online. So this can be a good little hub, you know. You can hear it direct from my mouth, and hopefully get a good idea of what we're all about and what we offer. So I hope this was informative, and I hope it's not too long. I'm going to try to edit it. I'm going to try to edit it in a way where it's not an hour long, but, you know, if you're still here and still watching, thank you. And we look forward to another amazing year of building dream guitars for you all. And I've been Alex from Feelgood Guitars, and hope you have a wonderful year.